Here goes, and welcome to the 136th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V's in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Woods? Great to be back. Round one's in the bag. We both enjoyed that. So, yeah, looking forward to kick it with our special guest today.
Yes, definitely. Really fun to have NBL basketball back on our screens. Yes, as you said. And as I teased today on X, we have a very special guest joining Throwback Hoops today. I thought I was an obsessed Sydney Kings fan until I met this man. He brings our Sydney Kings fan base together as a community, running chat forums and organizing social meetups before and after games. He's the heart and soul of the Sydney Kings and a terrific ambassador, not just for Sydney basketball, but Australian basketball as a whole. It is with absolute pleasure that I welcome KO Sports' very own Jimmy Boyd to the show.
How's it going, guys?
Great, man.
I don't know if friend of the pod, Matt McQuaid, will be too happy with you calling me the heart and soul of the Kings. I think he's got that one over me. But yeah, no, thanks for the introduction. I can see we've managed to match up jerseys, which is completely unplanned, by the way.
Completely unplanned. So, Jimmy, why don't you take the audience away? I talked a little bit about, you bringing us together, the community, the Kings community. Why don't you tell the audience a little story about how you and me initially met?
All right, yeah, it wouldn't be a story about Woods and I without beers involved. But yeah, basically, we're at I usually go with my old man to the game. So Dad and I it was post game, having a couple beers after the game. The Kings had won. It's what, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it might have been when Kawhi hit that shot on his birthday to win the game. It was either that or the Bruce one.
Yep.
But not the longest time, but we've definitely struck up a close friendship since. And so anyway, in true Woody fashion, so Dad and I were sitting down at the pub afterwards, and this guy walks in, dressed in, like essentially early 2000s hip hop and R&B type get up, digging his vibe. He comes up to our table where Dad and I are. Dad thinks I know him. And he just comes up and daps me up. And he's like, yo, how good was that, man? He's like, oh, this, that, and the other. So we ended up saying, oh, grab a drink, come sit with us. So, everyone that knows Woods knows how friendly he is and loves to chat. So he comes over and sits with us. And we talked about the Kings, or waxed lyrical, as Woods likes to say, for probably hours afterwards. And struck up a friendship immediately. And because it was so natural, because it came so quickly and naturally, after we said goodbye at the end of the night, Dad's like to me, oh, so where did you know him from? And I was like, I didn't. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I didn't know him previously. And Dad couldn't believe it. He's like, what? So you just met him tonight? And I was like, he literally just walked up to our table. That's it. That's how I know him for. So, but yeah, so that's how we kind of met. And literally from that moment onwards, it was like just like that every time. So, but that just kind of shows Wood's kind of character and what he's all about.
Oh man, it works both ways. And I'm glad I did walk up to that table that day, Jimmy, because we got you on the show today. We've had this friendship, so that's amazing. Look, before we get in the show, quickly, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your role at KO Sports. What do you do day to day there? It might be interesting for our viewers to hear that as well, right? So,
yeah, so it's very much control room based. So, on the tools, so to speak. So we work out of a control room, lots of screens, lots of color bars, lots of live feeds coming in. Me being specifically with KO, it's all streaming based. So the broadcast guys are around as well, but we're doing the KO streaming side of stuff. So there's a lot of liaising with, when there's NBL 1 games or whatever, for example, we'll be discussing with the guys either from our provider or on the court about incoming stream, getting it ready for platform.
Yep.
There's a lot of presentation work. So it could be physically rolling ad breaks or standby slides, chasing technical difficulties, all that sort of stuff. So very much responsible for the live the live feed on KO and how they're presented and controlled, and even just stopping and starting them and changing playable start times on them, and all that sort of stuff. So basically, all the things you see on platform, we're controlling from the studios and the control room.
Yeah, and look,
Um,
KO Sports changed the landscape of Australian sport. Having a streaming service
mm,
where you could go and select what you wanted to watch, and a lot of
for
work
sure,
goes on in the background, and it's fair play to you and
yeah.
the staff there to get everything to our screen. So all those people
For
enjoying
sure. Well,
KO,
you guys know with NBL One, for example, like obviously Robbie commentates games, and
yep,
friend of the pod Jacinta does as well. And I've been in the control room before when they've been on commentary, and I've heard them, and I go, "Oh, there they are," or "I know that voice," and stuff like that. But like you say, it's good that with KO we got more. They've got more bandwidth to sort of put on stuff like NBL One that the linear Fox Sports channels don't.
yep.
Because with KO, we've got more real estate to play with streams, whereas Fox Sports is limited to 7 channels, one of them just being news. So, yeah, KO is great for bringing more community sports and that sort of stuff to Aussie sports fans. So, yeah, no, it's good fun though. Shift work because we're running 24/7 live, but it's something I'm passionate about. So the live sport. So yeah.
Very interesting and great to hear. Thanks, Jimmy. So, Jimmy, you know how it is. You're a regular listener to the show. You teased it
Yeah.
a minute or two ago that we're wearing the same jersey today. So, why don't you take it away, being the guest?
I know. I was said to Robbie before. I was like, I can't believe we did. I mean, in some ways it makes sense because we are on a similar wavelength with certain things. But I went with this is a 1996 Shane the Hammer Heel Sydney Kings jersey. And I went, look, I've got Dwayne McLean jerseys and Leon Trimmingham jerseys and all that stuff as well. But I'm a little bit, I was born in 93. So I didn't get to see Dwayne McLean play and stuff like that. So Shane Heel, the Hammer, he was kind of one of my first Kings heroes, I guess, so to speak. So I grew up more with him. So I thought, if I'm going to go a throwback Kings jersey with the new season starting, I'm going to go with Hammer because he's always been, part of that basketball journey of mine. So, but yeah, um, funny that we wore the same one. But also, while I was going through and picking the jersey, just reread. I mean, we know he's an NBL legend. We know he's an Aussie basketball legend, Olympian, etc. But even rereading his resume was just like I almost feel like he's sometimes maybe modernly doesn't get praised enough for some of his achievements and like I was reading through it and like even though I know I'm like wow like he really like if you had the career he had like you'd be stoked like played all over the world in so many different leagues and won things and but I can go through a little bit of a resume of his that I've got. So as I said, 96 Kings jersey. That was his first stint at Sydney. But he was NBL Rookie of the Year in 1988 with Brizzy. Two-time Gaze Medal winner in 97 and 04. NBL champion with our Sydney Kings in 2003. 2 stints in the NBA with Minnesota and the Spurs. And a 4-time Olympian representing Australia in Barcelona, Atlanta, Sydney, and Athens, where he was actually captain of the Boomers for that campaign. So, yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and look, Robbie, what do you remember about Shane Hill most? Do you remember him in those Sydney Kings years, or do you remember him earlier? I remember him at the Geelong Supercats in those early '90s as well, right? What era does Shane Hill stand out the most to you? For which team, let's say? Yeah.
Well, firstly, with Heel Woods, anyone knows what my favourite shot is in basketball, right? I was just mesmerised by the way that guy used to shoot the outside shot there. Probably for me, maybe those Brisbane days there. I seem to remember him maybe getting his career high in a Bullets jersey. I forget what number it was. It was 60 odd or something. I know one of our viewers may be correct us there, but yeah, maybe sort of Bullets. I don't remember him maybe as much in Geelong. Like I know I can obviously see him in that jersey sort of thing, but yeah, probably Brisbane and yeah, those Kings years when the crowds are pretty big and everything else like that. But yeah, it was exciting to watch. Of course, I remember the game against the US Dream Team when him and Barkley were banging. I think it was Salt Lake City in Utah where they played that exhibition game, and he just he had big balls, didn't he? He stood up to anyone there. He didn't take any crap from anyone, and yeah, love the way he went about it.
Zach's favourite player, Little Shane.
And I'll tell you something. If you were a 10-year-old in the mid-90s or, around that age, you were definitely at the basketball court or in your backyard, putting your hand above your head, trying to shoot exactly like Shane Hill, right?
I used to see him at the club as well, Woods. We used to go to like Birdie Bar and Dart Bomb and those sort of things back in the day.
Sure
He'd always make a late
Yeah.
arrival there and stuff. And everyone would be, oh, wow, there's Shane Hill and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Not surprised. All right, so let's follow the NBL theme today, shall we, Robbie? What do you got? Surely you got a Wildcats jersey today,
I
right?
do have a Wildcats. Look, it's not anything out of the ordinary. I haven't worn this jersey before. I've repped this player, so I'm really just going to show the jersey rather than talk about it, but I'll show you this one. A nice away jersey for Wildcats, which is a bit rare.
Sure thing. So for all our audio listeners that can't see, Robbie's wearing the Perth 11 Bryce Cotton away jersey. That's nice, man. I haven't seen that black away one.
No, actually, I've had it for a couple of years, and when I got out of the cupboard, it still had the tags on, so I've never worn this one yet. But no, I like the black. Obviously, we know they wear the white sometimes. I think this was maybe only the one season where the black was their away jersey there. So, look, as I mentioned, I have worn BC before, so I won't sort of talk about all this stuff there. For me, I've been watching NBL Wood since it's got to be 84, I'd say. Second best player I've ever seen, Bryce Cotton. Look, some people say they do think Leroy Loggins is better. For me, he's probably third, maybe fourth. Andrew Gaze will always be number one, I think, in my mind, just for
imports wise, you'll give Cotton number one.
For both. Yep, number one import for me. Yep. 100%. The longevity and what he's achieved, since he's been here. As I said, Gaze is number one, but yeah, what Cotton does there, out on the court every night, even just that first game last week, which we're obviously going to talk about soon, was just amazing. So fun to watch. I love that story that, he could have taken that contract and played in the NBA, but he wanted to play the game rather than sit on a bench. That's why he came here. I think you hear that with some people, it's not always true. With him, it was true. He loves the game and just love what he's done here. Disappointing that he still doesn't have that citizenship, but we're not going to bother talking about that again. If it happens one day, it happens. But no, Bryce Cotton, one of my absolute all-time favourites.
And Jimmy, you mentioned you were born in 1993, right? Now, in your lifetime, Cotton must be the greatest import you've seen play. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. I think he's like I'm the same with Gaze. I love Drewy, and I think for me it's Gaze as well. But best import I've seen play, would have to be. But not only that, he's chasing that. He's chasing that sort of GOAT status. I'm Gaze all the way, but it's like he's getting to that conversation point where he's been in the league this long now and just dominated so much that he's right up there, man. But yeah, as far as who I've seen play in the league, especially for that extended period of time,
And Woods, you love that story that I saw his first ever game as well.
Yep.
So his first ever game, they signed him a couple of days earlier playing in Sydney. He had the random, I think, number 0 jersey on. And we'd sort of knew about him. We'd seen him on that Utah team. He came out there, and I think you were overseas maybe.
I was living in London.
Why you weren't with us, So I went with mum and dad, and we were just blown away by this little guy who was just hitting shots from everywhere. And yeah, it was great to say I saw his first ever game in Australia.
9 years later, he's still here, which is amazing, right? All right, I'm just going to stand up, as Jimmy said. I'm wearing a similar jersey to his.
Very nice. Woods is rocking the number 23, Shane Hill. That's certainly are nice jerseys, those ones, for sure.
That's an original you've got, though, Jimmy, isn't it?
Yeah. So Woods is rocking the throwback reprint.
Yeah.
This is a reprint as well, but it's one that's done in the most authentic way possible. So it's got the original, like the Coca-Cola sponsor and the Mitsubishi sponsor and stuff like that. So it's like, it's verbatim, of the jersey from '96.
Robbie and I know who made that jersey for you. He's gone now, right? He doesn't make them anymore, right?
Yeah, he probably got in trouble. Yeah.
We got a few though, didn't we?
Yeah, we got quite a few before.
Yeah, I made sure to get on them as well. Yeah.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just, instead of going into the whole Shane Hill, I know you've given the whole resume and everything, Jimmy. I want to ask you just one question, right? Is he vilified? Oh, no, 2 questions. Let's make it 2 questions. One, is he vilified too much by certain members of the basketball public?
Look, I think a little bit. For me, I think the banner thing kind of annoyed me a little bit, just because putting any shenanigans with him aside as a coach or whatever it was, and I won't speak on that stuff. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, if you're just looking at him as a player, he was a great clubman for the Sydney Kings. Not only did he have 2 stints there, win championship there, but he coached the team at one point. And his daughter's been part of the organisation for the Flames and stuff. I just think, I always remembered his banner was hung in the rafters at the Kingdome for a long time. And it's just a bit of a shame. It's like I'm not pointing fingers at anybody or anything like that, but it's just a shame when you look up there and see a guy that, like, kids my age when we were coming up idolized and everything, and now it's not there, and it's like, so it's more of a shame more than anything. I
Yeah,
think it deserves
definitely.
to still be there.
Yeah.
I think it should still be there, though.
Yeah. So for those who don't know the whole story, for whatever reason, Shane Hill's banner has been removed from the rafters at Kudos
Well,
Bank
there is a
Arena.
reason, Woods. It's not for whatever reason, right? It's basically all the controversy with his daughter getting the chop with the Flames there. So that's for people
Yeah,
that don't know, I guess, the backstory. That's what it's in relation to, right?
totally.
Court action and other sort of things like that took place. So
All of that.
yeah,
Now, regardless of what's happened off the court, to Jimmy's sentiments, what he's achieved, he's had that jersey retired. I don't think
Yeah,
he deserves to be pulled down for whatever he's done. I mean, but once again, it's just a shame it's got to this, as we said. But
yeah, yeah.
we'll all remember and respect him, as we've seen here today. All right. Anyway, let's get on with things, shall we, guys? As Robbie said, great first round in the NBL. So I wanted to sort of go through the first round and get your guys' thoughts on the games that recently finished, and then we'll have a preview of the round which is about to start. So maybe I'll kick off with the season opener, which was on Thursday night between Melbourne United and the Tassie Jack Jumpers. Jimmy, 88-79 victory to Melbourne against an undermanned Tasmania side. Tell me a bit about what you saw there.
Yeah, look, they were a bit undermanned, but I just think that they're also not going to be quite the same Tassie we saw um, last season rather. It's just Jack McVeigh's obviously there's a big Jack McVeigh sized hole in Tassie. And besides him having a breakout season, stats wise and everything, a character like him, you're just going to miss around the locker room and all that sort of stuff. Um, and yeah, I get like Magne, coming off the Olympics, like I'm not too sure what to expect from Will Magne because I'm a bit hesitant with his injury history. Part of me was like he's going to come back from the Olympics and he'll be in really good shape and form and everything. We saw him go down later in this game already, so that's a question mark there whether he can stay healthy, which has been a common theme with him. Um, Being a bit undermanned too, like they this game in particular, they definitely had to rely a lot on Milton Doyle and Jordan Crawford for scoring on the offensive end because it's they don't have we haven't seen Craig Sword yet either, so we'll put an asterisk there because he might bring a bit of that as well. But yeah, Doyle and Crawford, having to do a lot of the heavy lifting there for Tassie, and so yeah, it just didn't feel quite like the Tassie we saw last year. That kind of captivated, you know, kind of won us all over. You know what I mean? And a super awkward interview, by the way, with us. Do you see that Scott Roth interview? I love Scott Roth, by the way.
I'm glad you
Awesome.
mentioned
But
that. Woods and I have been talking about that this week. Yeah, what did you
yeah,
guys think about that?
it's a bit, yeah. It was just a bit jarring, right? Because as I said, I love Scott Roth. Such a great character. What he's done down there is amazing. But yeah, I was just a bit taken aback, as I'm sure Joe Healy was too.
Hey, Jimmy, I've sort of got that motto, and I always try and teach this to my daughter, who you met before, is to treat people how you
Yeah,
want to be treated. I think it's a big sort of motto of mine
yeah,
in life.
yeah,
And look, we know we've
yeah,
seen Pop in the NBA. I know, Would you mention that to me offline?
yeah,
It was a little bit Pop-esque sort of thing. The only thing for me, I just didn't really feel that warranted. I couldn't help but think if that wasn't look, I may be stepping out of line here. If it maybe wasn't a female and it was maybe someone that had played the game, you might have been a bit nicer to them. The fact that it was a female there that obviously didn't play, professional basketball, almost feels like it was a bit sort of personal, and it wasn't a good look, I think. Apparently the league's a little bit unhappy with the way he was with a few things that the Blitz as well, with the way he's carrying on. So yeah, it's a little bit, it just felt a bit unnecessary for me, in all honesty. That's sort of
I agree.
Robbie, let me just unpack something that Jimmy just said. Tasmania, obviously Jack McVeigh is a huge hole to fill. We've just got news that Sean McDonald, most improved player in the NBL, is going to be out for 2 to 3 months. That's another big gap that they need to fill, and it seems like with what's going on with Tasmania, a bit of unrest with Scott Roth, and he wasn't too happy about them having to travel overseas and having that packed schedule, injuries occurring. Tell me how big a loss someone like Shawnee Mack is to that team.
Oh man, that's a big loss. Yeah, look, the schedule wasn't ideal, was it?
Yeah.
They had a condensed schedule of the Blitz, and then they were overseas in Singapore. Playing in a tournament that no one, in all honesty, really seemed to care too much about. And then they had the first game of the NBL round, so look, it wasn't great. Definitely that Sean McDonald loss is going to be a big one for him. We've spoken about it in our preview. It's a massive hole to fill without McVeigh, and they haven't really bolstered their forward lineups there. I mean, Drimich wasn't bad in that first game, I thought, especially the first half. But I just think guys like him and Dang, they're probably bench players in this current NBL, so it's putting a lot of responsibility on them. But they've really got to weather this storm, don't they? They've got to get Sword back. Sounds like McDonald might be out for a couple of weeks there. But yeah, watch out any of these journos that interview Roth in the next couple of weeks if it's going to be like this, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, before we move on, Jimmy, I just want to ask you something. A big hole that needed to be filled in Melbourne United was that center rotation, right? Now, Huck Porty, Joel Alachul leaving. We had Rob Lowe and Marcus Lee do an admirable job, didn't they, on Thursday night? And if they keep these pieces together, they could probably make do with those two. Don't you think they stepped up and put in a decent performance?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they were pretty efficient too. Just looking here, Lowe was 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 50% from the field. So yeah, he was.
Solid.
And I think Lee was pretty similar. He was 8 points and 5 rebounds and
A couple of block shots.
So exactly. So yeah, I think so. Yeah, those two are pretty serviceable.
Definitely.
But I mean, with Melbourne too, like Delhi was great. By the way, he was speaking of someone that come back from the Olympic campaign looking good. We've kind of been waiting for Delhi to slow down a bit, but he was awesome. He 21 points efficiently, 58% from the field, 6 assists, and then Shea Ely was great
Awesome.
too.
Awesome.
His little partner there. So those two are such a great backcourt duo because they're just absolute menaces. Like dealing with those two all night, they're just giving people nightmares. So and Jack White was looking comfy too. So I think we're all kind of expecting big things out of Jack White this season. So it's a bit too early to tell how good Jack White's going to be, but he's going to be in the mix. He's got the athleticism and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Melbourne's looking pretty good.
Yeah, they're going to be right there and thereabouts come playoff time. All right, let's move on. Robbie, your Perth Wildcats, season opener versus SEM. An awesome victory, 106-98. To see your 2 stars, Keanu Pinder, Bryce Cotton step up, must have been heartwarming.
So do you want me just to talk the rest of the show about this game, or no?
Do you want to just put down our headphones and nick off,
Maybe
Jimmy?
you can just walk off and I'll just keep talking. Yeah, look, I really enjoyed it. I must admit, as soon as that game was 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, how good is this having basketball back? That kind of what's become a traditional home game for the Wildcats on Friday nights, even though it was a little bit earlier than normal there. And look, I dubbed that duo of Cotton and Pinder the best duo in the NBL, and I think they really backed that up, didn't they, in this game? Absolutely shot the lights out, didn't they? I think they combined it for 29. I think it was just close to 60. I think they combined for there. Look, Pinder was probably the one for me, Woods. I thought he was really impressive at both ends. Can feel like he's shown further improvement with his outside shooting as well, which is something that he never had in those early days, did he? That outside shot that he's got now. Year 2, Ben Henschel was really important. Look, he played 20 minutes, and I think that'll probably be around the sort of minutes he'll get this year. He ended with 10 points and 7 assists. So that's a huge, really efficient 20 minutes there. And next to RL Manza looked really good in his first game as well. So it's definitely some good signs there. And even Dylan Windler, came off the bench there. We're not sure if that'll continue. Maybe it will. Rebounded well. Didn't shoot amazing there, but it looked like he's fitting in pretty well. Definitely seems like a good teammate there. So a lot of good signs. Really didn't get ejected. That was also good. Honestly, I think maybe a little bit of credit needs to be given to South East Melbourne. Maybe the final score flattered them a bit, an 8-point loss there, but they never stopped fighting. They did come home strong in the fourth there. So for me, Geordie Hunter and Hurt both had really solid games. And yeah, it's definitely a team that I do find pretty intriguing. I think once they get all these new guys to mesh together, maybe they could be okay. Sobey's first game, not great. He was grumpy and frustrated early on, and then look, the flopping and the complaining to refs, he's got to cut that out of his game. Like, he is one of the worst in the whole comp at doing that. And it's, I don't know, it feels like other teams are aware of it, refs are aware of it. So he's just really got to improve that side of his game there. And, just not focus on the refs the whole game there. But as I said, I do think there's some signs there. Thought it was interesting guys like Ben Air didn't get on. That was sort of interesting. He played a pretty decent role. I'm not sure if he was completely healthy or not, but he didn't get the court there at all. So, definitely a mini Sydney Kings team, isn't it? With like 4 ex-Kings on that team. But yeah, all in all, a good hit out for the Wildcats there. I think, and just in general, I know we're going to go on to the next game there, Woods, but I think the Hoop Fest thing went pretty well. I've heard a couple of divided opinions there, but I like the way they've done it. Some people are maybe saying it should be a round that they do midway through the season rather than the start of the season. Maybe that's something they may look at, but I think all in all it went well. And I know a lot of the people we know that went to the games really enjoyed it as well. So yeah, it's a tick for me for the Hoops Fest.
Yeah, definitely. Now there's some food for thought going around Twitter, X and socials this morning, Jimmy, that potentially the Hoops Fest should be in another part of Australia because it's easier to access for people who might want to fly in and be present, and also that it should potentially be in the middle of the season as opposed to the start of the season. Wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's, from what I'm hearing about Hoops Fest, the only real knocks on it were pretty much what you just said. The timing of it, it's, we've only just had the Blitz as well. I know the season started now, but it feels like we just had this sort of get together and on a location and all teams playing each other and all this stuff with the Blitz. And having it right after the Blitz, yeah, maybe not. And also, I've heard a few people as well. Right now, there's finals footy going on. There's both AFL and NRL are in their postseasons, so they're in finals. So there's also that aspect to it. And those two codes as well, they do. So they've got their own versions with Magic Round and Gather Round, and those are more mid-season as well. So yeah, I agree. I think maybe the timing of it, I think probably mid-season might be a little bit better. But other than that, I've heard the people that were at Hoops Fest thought it was pretty awesome. So I think it's one of those things where it was better on the ground than maybe what people thought it was on TV. So, because there was so much more to do there, and apparently after the games had wrapped up, it just basically became a rave, and people were, partying and all this kind of stuff, which sounds kind of fun. So, I think it'd be fun to go to for sure. As for location-wise, it looked awesome in Perth, but yeah, look, and I know the WA government put their hand up for it and stuff, so that might also play into it. But yeah, just logistically, like, do you do it in a different city each year? There's a couple of people saying, oh, it should just be in Melbourne or Sydney. I don't agree. It should just be in one of those two. Either it becomes a Perth thing, or it gets shared round. People, different hosts in each city.
So what I'm hearing it's the right idea, Hoops Fest. Maybe just needs a little bit of tweaking so we can get it to a place where we want it to be.
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think so.
All right, let's move forward to the next game then, which was New Zealand versus Brisbane. So surprise victory there for New Zealand, 91-87. Jimmy, what did you think about your first look at the Breakers specifically to start off with?
Yeah, not bad. I wasn't that surprised they won, to be honest. I know they've had some, they've had coaching change, and Modi had done such a great job there, but now they've got a new coach, and there is a little bit of a question mark for me anyway of whether no one's questioning Jonah Bolden's talent or Mojave King either, but those two together, is there maybe some issues there with attitudes or something? I don't know, maybe not. But look, Parker Jackson Cartwright continues to be an absolute gun on the offensive end, like just a killer. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely good things there for New Zealand. It's just it's just whether the positives will outweigh the negatives, I think, with that one, and maybe a lack of local players too. That might be looking a little bit too into it, but we've got Liafa now at the Kings, and does not having guys like a Liafa or like a Ruben Tarangi type,
Abercrombie, those guys that have been a big part of it.
Those guys that have been there for a long time, kind of those identities that have always been part of the Kiwis side. But yeah, no, I thought they looked pretty good. I'm not, when I say I'm not surprised that they won, really, I don't think I'm as excited about Brisbane as maybe some other people are. I'm definitely excited to continue watching the development of young Rocco Zikarsky. I think because he's going to be, a big man that we can definitely use in the Boomers and FIBA tournaments, because I think you still need that 7+ footer in there. And in the last couple tournaments for the Boomers, they have lacked those big sort of 7-foot guys, and which historically we had, Baines, Bogut, Longley, all that. But the last couple tournaments has been a little bit more smaller lineup. So I'm keen to see Rocco develop, and he'll be a great shot blocker, all that sort of stuff that could come in handy. So keen to watch Rocco, and I know Woody's a Deng Adele fan.
Yeah.
Tyro, there's been a lot of talk about Tyro Harrison as well. I'm not sure with him. I can't really, like, he's still pretty young and everything, so we'll see. But yeah, I know you had marked out Woods about Harrison possibly being, was it all NBL first or second team or something? Or
yeah, later on in the show, I've got a true or false section for you, where I'm going to throw that over to you. But yeah, for sure. Okay, so Robbie, let me just unpack some of that stuff that Jimmy just said. Right, you were actually one of those people that were higher on Brisbane than others were. Now they won the Blitz, and everyone was like, "Yes, this is the new Brisbane." But it seemed like the same old Brisbane on that season opener. What do they need to do to turn it around, right?
I think it's some of the new guys adjusting there. The majority of the teams come back. Obviously, you've got new imports there. They've got to sort of find their time to fit in there. I think you've got to work out how you're going to use Bannon, Rocco, and Tyrell Harrison. That's obviously three bigs there. You definitely can't play all of them at the same time, so you need to try and work out a bit of a balance that you're going to play with there. Yeah, look, I'm not too carried away just with the one game there. I do think they have some talent on the team, but yeah, they can't afford to drop these early games, right? Because they're going to be having a schedule where they play that big sort of 4 or 5 teams that we've mentioned before. So these are the sort of games against New Zealand they've got to take care of. But yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment a little bit until they get a couple of games, I think.
Fair. I mean, in terms of Rocco Zikarsky, Schuler played him for, 6 minutes or something from memory?
Yeah, it's not enough, right?
Surely you've got to put a bit more faith in him.
15 minutes, surely, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And finally,
6 minutes, yeah.
And finally, with New Zealand, you mentioned Parker Jackson Cartwright. Freddie Gillespie's coming back, but they're going away on an NBA trip, and it was mentioned offline by the two of you that they've signed a certain import for a three game stretch. Do one of you want to educate the audience on who that is and why?
Yeah, I'll have a go. So Taco Tuesday, the time we're recording is Tuesday, the 24th of September. So yeah, they've got big man Taco Fall, all 7'5" or 7'6" of him there. So those will obviously remember him playing for the Celtics. He's been out of the league for a little while now. He's a bit of a statue, one of those guys that never kind of found his way in the NBA, but he's a very likable sort of guy. So I believe one of the teams last year did something similar, Woods, if I'm not mistaken. They signed someone, was it Adelaide or one of those teams that went over there, they signed someone that was kind of out of the NBA.
Yeah,
I forget.
you're right.
I'm sure it did happen. Look, at the end of the day, not quite sure what New Zealand are doing.
Langston Galloway.
Yeah, that's right. How's this going to help them going over and having 3 games, interrupting their season and everything like that? There'll be injuries, there'll be fatigue when they comes back. So I'm not high on that.
Sure.
But look, the Taco fall news is good. That'll sort of, add a little bit more interest to the games anyway. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried about New Zealand in this upcoming trip, I've got to say.
Yep. I'm worried about when they come back, what kind of shape they'll be in, right?
Yeah.
That's the one thing you got to worry about. Okay, moving on. My second team, Cairns, got absolutely hammered by Illawarra, 102-75. Having said that, they were in the game for 3 quarters. They just didn't have what it took to put together 4 quarters of basketball, right, Robbie?
Mate, I hope your second team doesn't get a wooden spoon, because the way they started off this season was pretty ordinary. But honestly, I think it was probably a little bit more about Illawarra. I thought they were super impressive in this game. 102 points. They were able to score so easily. Their D was really good as well, so they only allowed 30 points in the whole second half to Cairns there. So very disappointing start by the Taipans, I've got to say. Hawks were really well balanced. It was really evident in this game. I think they had 5 guys in double figures and maybe 2 guys on 9 points. So it was a really even spread the way they played there. And Darius Days, what a great debut for the Hawks there. So 20 points, 12 rebounds on debut. No assists, I should say, as well. So that might be one of those common themes where he doesn't average a whole lot of assists there. But he seemed to fit in really well. He's got a really nice looking shot on him. Can get the ball up over anyone. Real quick release on him there. Trey Kell struggled in that first game. He only went 1 of 8 there, but they did have some good backup guard play there. So guys like Lee, Swaka LeBullock, and my guy Dave O'Hickey really stepped up. So I think it was a really good start for Illawarra. I'm excited about them this year. I do think if there's any teams that can maybe challenge with the big 3, and that's with all respect to Tasmania not included in that, but of course Sydney, Perth and Melbourne, it could be the Hawks there. For your second team, Taipans, Woods, honestly, I think Tanner Groves was about the only guy from them that impressed me. He ended up with 19.7 rebounds. Looked quite strong inside. Showed an ability to sort of score on both sides.
Bit of Mooney about him, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, no, he was handy. So look, they clearly need Taron Armstrong back, and they need him to stay healthy when he's back as well. And Rob Edwards, it wasn't the greatest start, so hopefully he'll be better in the next game.
Look,
maybe needs to spend a little bit less time in the gym and a little bit more time out there practicing jumpers based on that first game there. But we'll give him a pass there for one game, right?
Let's just say one thing, right? I just got to point out Kyle Adnam injured, right? You've got Taron Armstrong injured. You got Jackson McCoy suspended. So the 3-point guards are off. Can't play, so they basically grabbed Tad Duffelmeyer from the beach somewhere, sipping a pina colada, put him out to play meaningful minutes. So Rob Edwards obviously had to do a lot of ball handling duties, and that hampered his impact, I would say. So when he moves over to the 2, I think we'll see more from him. Yep. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go on.
How much time a week do you reckon he spends in the gym, Woods? Edwards, he's a big
Someone
boy.
said I think he ate Pat Miller.
Yes, possibly. But look, like I said before, I do think Taron Armstrong is a big one there. He hasn't shown perhaps that ability to stay healthy. He's a guy that has been mentioned on NBA radars. He's got to get out there. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to show people what he can do. We know that Cairns have a lot of trust in him there, and they want him to run this team. So I'm not sure if you guys know how far away he is. Hopefully he's
Week 3.
So week 3, so yeah, interesting. So yeah, look, they need him back, but look, again, kind of with Brisbane, you'll give a team a free pass, but yeah, losing by 27, only getting 30 in the second half, not a great start to the season, but we'll see how these guys start to gel in future weeks.
Thanks, Robbie. And Jimmy, did you see Darius Day's little NBL spotlight? The 5-minute video clip where they asked him a little bit about his background and everything. Did you get a chance to look at it?
I actually didn't see that one.
So he's just waxing lyrical about how his favorite player is Draymond Green and how he met Draymond Green once, etc. And he models his game on Draymond Green. You'd like to think that he'd be getting more than 0 assists going forward. So I think that he has it in him, Robbie. He has it in him, right?
Let's hope so. Yeah.
I got him to potentially lead the league in rebounds, right? Looking at that game. Doolittle, I think, grabbed 13. He grabbed 12. Yeah, a few guys. Good to see. All right, moving on. Last game of the round and the game of the round. Sydney versus Adelaide. So this is a game of runs, Jimmy, with our Kings getting up in the end, 102-94. So I was pretty happy, but there was some concerns as well, right?
Yeah, I think so as well. 100% a game of runs. Kings got out to a cracking start. but I knew there'd be a rebuttal there, and I knew that that Adelaide would kind of answer it, and they clawed their way back into it, and then they were ahead for a little bit. We were worried. Kings came back, and then got it done at the end. Yeah, look, I think the concerns for me probably obviously it's such a deep team. I think that they're probably going to take a little bit to gel together really well, and they're probably at this point getting away with a couple pieces of just talent, and like the guys like Jalen Galloway didn't even play much. You know what I mean? Like Galloway got 3 minutes.
Yeah,
So
Malowach got 10 or 11 minutes. So I think
McQuatch said something similar. Yeah.
Hey, boys, Galloway's body language on the bench didn't look great. I thought I noticed that a few times in that, so maybe he was expecting a little bit more than those minutes that he played.
Yeah, I know. So that is the issue of having a deep team, is that someone's probably going to get screwed out of some minutes. But yeah, look, they came through in the end. I think as well, even though I was concerned with a couple of things with Sydney because we're expecting such big things of them, I think also the thing was Adelaide are better than was advertised, right? We know they've had some dramas quite publicly with legends of their club and coaches being sacked and all this sort of stuff. But I thought they were really good. Outside of Isaac Humphries having, I don't know really what happened with him. He played 18 minutes, only scored 2 points and grabbed 1 rebound. But otherwise, I thought they were better than advertised. They were taking it to Sydney. DJ was having one of his hot nights where he, got hot and was shooting the ball pretty well, 23 points and just over 50% from the field. So when he gets hot, it's obviously dangerous. They'd love to hang on to Montrezl Harrell, right? I think his build, like his strength and physicality, is suited to the NBL.
100%.
With the scrappiness of how things get. He was down there with Kelly LePepe, fighting at each other, real physical, sort of dude. So I think he, no defensive 3-second rule in the key. I think the NBL actually really suits his strengths.
Ball is live on the rim. That's another thing that will benefit him, right?
Yeah. So for sure. So I think the league actually really suits him. And his first game after a long stint with injury and whatnot, big double-double, 13 points, 13 rebounds in 20 minutes. It's pretty efficient too, 50%. So they would love to keep him, but I'd say he won't be sticking around too long because he'll probably pick up something, maybe in the NBA, maybe if not, maybe a big Europe offer or something. But what did you guys think of Trez? And he was entertaining anyway. He got that. Do you see he got that inciting the crowd warning?
That's rubbish, wasn't it? I've got to say, watching that, I was excited. I must admit, I'm going to get a Trez jersey. I'll have to get that.
Likewise,
But yeah, I like some of the stuff that maybe didn't show up on the box score. He was really setting some real active screens there. His passing was quite good, I thought. He had a couple of those hockey assists where he basically passed to someone who then passed and got the assist. So I think it was quite unselfish the way he played out there. And yeah, like you boys both mentioned there, some of those rules that they don't have in this league that could definitely advantage him there. So yeah, I thought it was great. It was a bit of a buzz with him out on the court, wasn't there? Apparently the Perth crowd were getting behind him. Woods, how do you pronounce his name? I know that was something that bugged you a little bit during the coverage there, right?
Montrezl Harrell, right? Everyone's like Montrell Jerez.
I'll say, if you look at the basketball reference site, it does say his last name. I think they pronounce it as Harrell, so it's in Harrell. But yeah, definitely right with Montrez. I'm getting that a little bit wrong. I think
Montrell. Someone called him Montrell, right?
Montrell Jordan or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, and then it was Harrell. That's not it, right? Anyway.
No, it's not Harrell. No, definitely not.
Look, finally, before we move on, I wanted to ask you one final thing from a third party, not a Kings fan. How impressive was young Kelly LePepe on NBL debut?
He was great, wasn't he? I like him. I know you've already got a bit of a love affair with him. I'm sure that'll be a jersey.
I love him. Got to get his jersey, man. Yeah,
100%. But no,
you see Sea King's artwork of him?
No, I
Our
didn't.
good friend Sid.
Yeah.
He's done a really good one. But sorry, Robbie. Go ahead.
I'll have a look for that. Yeah, no, he was good. I'm not sure whether he will continue to start, but I like the idea of starting. I thought Cam Oliver was pretty good off the bench with his improved outside shooting there. But no, I think you've got a good one there, Woods. Just plays the game smart, doesn't he? Keeping the ball alive on offensive rebounds, setting screens, doing all those things. I think he does have a decent outside shot. We didn't see a lot of that in that game as well, but no, they've got a great one there. You can tell Gorgon's already got a lot of trust in him.
And I've said this before.
Sure.
We recruited guys to play with thinking that Galloway wasn't coming back, right? So Gorgian put his principles in place. At the last minute, we were able to get Galloway, which could affect why he isn't seeing so many minutes early on, right?
Hey, did Mike Wells keep his job after that game? I'm not quite sure. Is he still coach this week? Or
You'd like to think so. I don't think they can afford to sack any more coaches, can they? All right.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Let's just quickly
And
do.
just quickly as well. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say as well for the Kings.
Yep.
Obviously, Jalen Adams and Cooks were great, but I just wanted to point out Tui was fantastic, especially down the stretch.
Yeah.
That showed a lot of maturity.
Oh, for sure.
One thing with last year, the situation was not so great, I think, for Alex's development. I think we're going to see Tui really take another step under Gorge, and his confidence is going to be higher. And I think we're going to see Alex Tui continue to grow, hopefully get up on the draft stocks. But yeah, down the stretch, he had a couple of clutch plays that
Sure.
took the momentum right back to us that pretty much, put it in the Kings' hands to win. So super impressed with Tui. He was shooting better, and yeah, hopefully he'll be great.
Well, he spent the offseason working out in the US, really honing his craft, coming back for another year under the tutelage of Gorge, as you said, Jimmy. It's certainly going to put him in good stead for that draft, which is coming up, right? And
Yeah,
that
for sure.
fourth quarter was really impressive. All right,
Yeah,
let me just
it's big.
bring up the rounds. You guys got that in front of you? Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right, so Thursday night. Maybe I'll start off with you, Robbie. What do we call this clash again?
You know I was going to ask you that, but I forget. I know you know all these clash names.
All right, we got the throwdown on Thursday night. Who you got?
Look, I'm looking forward to that. I don't have basketball this week. The season's finished. I'll be watching every minute of this. I think Melbourne probably, reasonably comfortable
Yep, I'll agree. Jimmy, Illawarra, Brisbane.
victory.
I'm going Illawarra for that one for sure.
Yep, I'll agree with that. Perth versus Sydney.
It's a big one, isn't it? I mean, this is definitely a game of the season so far. Did Sydney stay there? I did hear people say they were going to stay over there.
I think they did. Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I
interesting.
know, yeah.
That's probably not a bad move for them, sort of thing. I mean, I've got to say Perth, and man, what a game this will be. I'm really looking forward to this one. No footy or anything as well to compete with Friday night, so it'll be getting all my attention.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I look, very not confidently, I'm actually going to go with Perth for this one.
Yeah, me too.
I hope I'm wrong, but I just feel like, I don't know. I think if Pinder and Cotton have the game, link up like they did in the first game, that's going to be tough. Obviously, the Kings are stacked as well, but I just see Kings dropping one or two early until they really start gelling and figuring out rotations with all the players they've got.
What is this, boys? Some sort of reverse jinx or something like that?
Yeah.
This game? What's
I
going
totally
on?
agree with
that's it.
Jimmy. I totally agree with Jimmy. I echo Jimmy's thoughts. Perth to win. All right, let's move on. Jimmy, Cairns and Adelaide.
Look, I'm going Adelaide. As I said, they were better than advertised, in my opinion. Keen to see more Trez. I think, and I can't see Isaac Humphries, having another stinker like he did the other day. So with his ability, so that, and also as Woods touched on before, Cairns are pretty rudderless at the moment.
Yeah.
They're Taron Armstrong, I don't think will be back yet, and he's the one that's been given the keys by 40 to run this thing. So yeah, Adelaide.
That's a big game for both teams, right? You don't want to go in a 0-2 hole, right? You want to get that win on the board. So pretty big game there.
And guys, wouldn't you just keep Tad Duffelmeyer? Wouldn't you prefer him to Kyle Adnam at this point?
Possibly.
He was really good. Okay, Tassie versus Melbourne. Robbie?
Yeah, get a rematch already, don't they? Look, I've got to say Melbourne on the double will probably end up going 3-0. I would have thought so far for the season.
Yep, I'll agree with that. Now, Jimmy, first home game of the season. What do they call this again, Jimmy?
The Freeway Series.
The Freeway Series. That's it.
There we go.
You're working on Sunday, I hear.
Yeah, I am. So, and at 2:30, that's pretty much right when I clock on. So, I will be watching the game where I can in the
Yep.
control room. But yeah, big one.
Should be fantastic.
Obviously, it's look. I've tipped the Kings, but like both these teams are pretty good on both ends. So I reckon it's going to be an absolute cracker.
High scoring game as well.
Yeah, I think look, the queue will be rocking. So I think Sydney will just get it done, but
Yep.
and especially if they're coming off a semi-surprising loss against Perth, like they'll want to bounce back. So yeah, I'm going with Sydney, but yeah.
Make
Robbie,
sure you behave yourself, Woods.
Yeah, I will. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. It's
I
been
know,
1
that's what
year.
I'm
Can you
saying,
believe
mate.
it? All right. New Zealand versus Southeast Melbourne. Last game, Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is New Zealand's last game before I think they're going to miss 2 rounds, I think, aren't they?
Yep.
When they go away. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
they really want to get a win here. Southeast, could potentially be in a 0-2 hole if they lose to Melbourne on Thursday night. So, I'd say New Zealand might take care of business at home in this one. Obviously, we'll see Gillespie make his season debut in this one as well. So, hopefully, he can keep his cool and contribute on the court.
Thanks, boys. While we're on the NBL, I'm gonna do a bit of true or false with you guys. I'm gonna throw out a few few questions to you, and I'll get a true or false from you too, right? And then we'll do some classic packs, shall we, with Jimmy, Robbie? All right. First one: is the Tyler Harrison All NBL buzz a real thing?
Look, I'll take this one. I'll say false. I think there's no doubt he had a nice blitz. I think I just need to see a little bit more in the season. In that game one versus New Zealand, he had 5 points. Five rebounds and 1 block in close to 30 minutes. So I would have thought someone with his size needs to have more of an impact on the court. So 5 rebounds, 1 block in 30 minutes. I think he just needs to use that size a bit better and impact the play more. So I'd say false. No doubt a good player, but yeah, I think the buzz maybe was a little bit premature from that NBL blitz.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I have had put down very similar sentiments to Robbie. He was great during the Blitz, but the regular season isn't the Blitz. And yeah, from all the hype going into it, I was probably expecting it a bit more from him. Look, it's just been one game, but yeah. So at the moment, I'll say false, but for similar reasons to Robbie.
Cool. All right, then we'll stay with you, Jimmy. Jack White, is he an MVP candidate? Is the talk of Jack
Oh
White being an
man,
MVP candidate real? True or false?
I it sounds like a cop out, but I'm not sure yet because we just had like the league's pretty stacked, but he looks good and he's going to be great, but I just don't. I can't make the call yet whether he's going to be a candidate. I'll say candidate true, but I'm definitely not confident on that. I think there's a lot we got to see first to say that he could take that award.
You a fence sitter too, Robbie, on this?
I am a little bit actually. I've actually got on my notes. Can I say maybe, but more maybe leaning towards false. Look, I think he will fall behind a group of those imports in this MVP category. I think he may end up the Aussie MVP, if I can say he'll be that. But yeah, I think there's probably some high quality imports that might be a little bit ahead of him there. But no doubt he's going to have a good season.
Yeah, I'm gonna go false. I'm gonna go false on this one. Right. Let's move on. Montrezl Harrell. Should the Adelaide 36ers try and keep him when Jarrell Martin comes back?
Well, I've got true in capital letters for this onward, so I'm pretty keen on that one. Look, we mentioned him before. We probably don't need to spend much time. He was so exciting to see Trez on debut there. Love that he brought to the game, and I just think him and Jarrell Martin would be an absolute beastly combo as well. So yeah, true for me. I'd love to see him hang around if they can keep him.
Jimmy?
Yeah, 100%. So it's funny. Robbie said he had big true written down. I had a big 100% written down. So yeah, same for the same reasons. Fun to watch. He's already off to a great start with a double-double, and they got him mic'd up, inciting the crowd. I'd love to go see him play. But I don't think the schedule is friendly to us in that situation. But yeah, in terms of that, yes, they should definitely try and keep him, but could be hard.
So I want to unpack something that a lot of people in the media have been saying. You guys mentioned to me earlier, he wants to get back to the NBA, right? My thinking is, today's NBA, hasn't it passed by a player like Montrezl Harrell? He doesn't stretch the floor. He's a rim runner. He's a lob threat. He's a blue collar type, guy. There isn't that much room for a guy coming back from an ACL injury with that kind of skill set in today's NBA. So it'd have to be the right fit, the right situation for him to get that
think you're right,
opportunity.
Woods.
Yeah.
Right?
And if it was that opportunity, maybe it would be to one of those teams that he's played with before, where he's familiar with that organisation and they know what he can sort of offer some, sort of intangibles there. But you're right, the game has changed a little bit over the last few years for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just food for thought, guys. All right.
No, agreed.
SEM is a contender for the championship. True or false?
So I got false in capital letters. Just the difference to that last one there. Look, no chance in all honesty. I think they're a clear way behind both of our teams, as well as United and the Hawks there. Hopefully for Tassie if they can get back on form, but no chance for me for contending for the championship.
Yeah, I've gone false as well. Look, they got some great offensive weapons on that side, and Walton Jr. fantastic, and they almost remind me, maybe not quite as, but the shades of last year's Kings in a way, where it's you got offensive weapons and stuff, but I think the defense is going to be their question mark at Southeast Melbourne. We're kind of yet to see that side of it for them. So yeah, I've got false.
Yep. Yeah, I'll agree. And it really hurts me to see Derek Walton and Jordan Hunter and Angus Glover wearing the CM uniforms. It really pisses me off, man. I hate it. Okay.
Yeah, especially Geordie with our lack of front court depth. I would have loved to keep Geordie, but
and he dominated, didn't he? He played beautifully, so didn't he? It's hard to see him play so well. Seems like he's improved a lot in the off-season. It's a good film. All right, finally, this is a controversial one. Are the NBL overdoing the hype around the Next Stars program? Robbie, I'll throw to you first.
Hey, Woods, you know what I'm going to do on this one? Just because I'm a little bit on the fence, I'm going to throw this one back to you. I think the way you've written this question, feels like you might have a bit of an opinion on this. I'm throwing this.
Are you taking words out of my mouth, are you?
Yeah, mate. You put the question there. What are you thinking?
I do. I mean, I do. I think that it's important, right? But the whole idea of let's get a bunch of Next Stars down to Gold Coast and talk about creating a team there and stuff is just overdoing it a little bit, right? Yes, we want eyes on this league. We want a good feeder program for these young kids who want to take an alternative to going to college. I'm with all of that, right? But at the same point, we've still got to look after our own, make sure that the league's in a good place. And by bringing up ideas like creating a Next Stars team in the Gold Coast, and I think you mentioned it last week when you recorded with Nate on the Sports Blokes or on our show, I can't remember, Robbie, about people wanting to go and, in a community, get to know players, like someone like Bryce Cotton we've talked about, like a Dwayne McLean, Jimmy, you mentioned, right? So if the Next
Stars,
Stars,
like a revolving door of a team, I don't see it. Why would a community get behind that?
Correct.
So, I agree. I agree. Look, they're certainly pumping it up. There's no doubt about it. I mean, how many times did we see interviews with Carmelo and Kenny the Jet Smith and all that sort of stuff last week? And it is obviously getting a good, publicity around the world, but maybe they're overdoing it a little bit. But I can see why they're doing it.
Yep. Cool. Well, I was going to do classic packs. We're already at 58 minutes. We have time, should we?
Let's do it quickly. Let's go and do it quickly.
All right, let's do it. All right, so we've got the 92-93 Ultra Flares here, all right?
Classic.
All right.
I've got a few of those in my collection, but as I said previously, I was born in '93, so I think there's going to be a few guys in this pack that I'm maybe not too familiar with.
I feel like last time we did this set, we had some random ones as well, so hopefully we get a bit of a better pack.
So, no joke, guys, as Jimmy said, he was born in 1993. These cards were made before Jimmy was on this earth.
There you go.
It has not been opened in 30 years.
I do. They're a nice set, though. I've got a lot of cards, and I do have some of that set in my collection because it was quite produced, but they are nice.
Mass produced. And you're a basketball historian. I'm sure you got cards dating back many, many years, right? And a collector.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Many people would know this guy as Steve Kerr's best friend on the Chicago Bulls. This is his Golden State Warriors jersey. Jared Buechler.
He wasn't bad back in the day. These are nice cards, I've got to say.
And remember, that's one Jimmy might have been able to get, man. You got to stop jumping and giving him. Could you have got that, Jimmy?
Well, so that's his Golden State card.
Yep.
Yeah. When you said Bulls, I was just automatically thinking of his time with the Bulls. So
Yep.
maybe if I had a lot of time, but no, Robbie's the pro at this.
All right. This guy was a guard forward for the Pistons. I loved his name because his name reminded me of someone jumping up and getting rebounds. Where do you get on to get rebounds?
On the boards.
Close?
Oh,
The
Gerald
post?
Glass.
Gerald Glass. Exactly.
Glass. Oh, yeah, right.
That's
Gotcha.
a random one. I remember him with the T-Wolves back in the day. Yeah, it wasn't an amazing player, old Gerald Glass.
Okay. He's been in trouble for various different issues. He's worked in the front office with Atlanta, various other teams. He went to Duke. Probably
know this
most
one. I
known
know
for his
some of them
time
at Virginia.
at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Won a championship with the Spurs in the early noughties. White guy. Who am I talking about, Jimmy?
You can't refer to colours when it comes to this guy, because I think that's what might have got him into trouble in the Atlanta front office. But yeah, Danny Ferry, of course.
Danny Ferry it is.
Yeah. Of course, he was drafted and went over and played in Italy, I think it was. Earned a bit of money over there before getting that NBA contract.
Okay, there was a Frank Sinatra type crooner, right, who sang with the same name as his player, Charlotte Hornets guard.
Oh, yeah, I know this one.
Okay, his namesake is like
Good
Mbugle.
coach, this guy as well now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett.
I was thinking of the clue. I do like a bit of Tony Bennett too. Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Just one sec.
This means he doesn't know this guy. If he's
I do know the
close
guy. I
up
just
and
want
Googling something.
to. Okay, the first Egyptian player
Oh, I know this one.
to play in the NBA.
Allah Abdul Nabi.
Yeah.
Hey.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just had to double
he's
check
in
if
like a
he-
front office or something now, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, right?
yeah. No, he's in broadcasting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
With Philly or something, right?
Yeah. Okay, this is the worst pack ever. I don't know how to give clues on any of these guys. Okay, this
don't know,
guy was
chance,
arrested for murdering his girlfriend, right? And he was on one of the Sports Blokes podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Phoenix Suns, Gerard Mustaf.
That's right. Yeah. Also played with Philly, I think, as well. Yeah, that's a crazy story. That one, I recommend people look that one up.
Yep. Man, I don't know any of these guys. San Antonio Spurs rookie, Anglo guy from '92,
Not Zan Tabak again.
David Wood.
Oh, I remember him. He played with Charlotte as well. Yeah, a bit of
Yep.
a no-name. Geez, another one of these packs. What's going on?
Let me just get through these
Where's the superstar?
because time's running. Rodney McRae.
Where's the clue? I could have got that. Former Sacramento player as well. Yeah.
Yep. Walter Bond.
Ooh, okay. I might not have got that one. Wow. Walter Bond.
Eric Anderson.
Yeah, big white stiff. Yeah. Jeez.
This is a terrible pack.
I said to
Raphael.
Woods before
Huh?
about the big white stiffs. Like, some of the big white stiffs in that 92, 93 Fleer, I don't think I'm going to get them, man.
Man, I don't know any of these guys. Raphael Addison.
Don't have any facts about him either.
Stephen Howard.
What is going on with this pack? Nice card, but yeah.
Okay.
I hope you don't have any more of these packs.
Nah,
I know they look good, but
the last two are Anthony Event and Lance Blanks.
Anthony Avent, I think you'll find.
Anthony
Yeah, no,
Avent.
he was pretty solid for the Bucks
Lance
there.
Blanks.
Lance Blanks as well. Wow. So who's the best player there? Like,
Oh, man. Judd Buechler?
Allah Abdul Nabi, maybe. That might
Danny
be.
Ferry.
Yeah, that was a.
Okay. Well,
That is the worst pack ever.
that might be the worst pack ever.
Okay. All right. Let's finish things up. We're a bit over time. So, Robbie, do you want to take the audience away with where we can be found, all of that? Yeah.
Sure can, brother. So, look, as you mentioned at the start, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We can be followed on X at Throwback Hoops, Instagram Throwback Hoops Podcast. Sorry, Throwback.hoops Instagram, and email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com.
Patreon. If you want to follow us, just jump on, look up Throwback Hoops, and we appreciate anyone who pledges their support. Jimmy, bit of a plug for you here. Where can you be found, followed, etc.?
Look, I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well. AUS underscore Jimmy on Twitter, and the Jimmy B1 on sorry, it's Jimmy Boyd, but with a 0 for the O in my last name on Instagram. So yeah, no plugs for me though, really. Just yeah, go Kings, and thanks for having me on. It was awesome. Been a long time listener, so it's good to finally get on and chop it up. So yeah.
And you're unreal
Great to
today,
have you,
Jimmy.
man. Yeah.
Great to have you. And just one sec, Jimmy. I'll come back to you in a second. Robbie, I forgot you wanted to give an RIP today, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I know
right?
It's been a real tough couple of weeks for yourself, Woods, and didn't want to sort of end the show with bad news, but I just thought we'd maybe mention a big rest in peace to Jason Joins there. So he passed away last week at age 54 due to a rare form of cancer. So the big South Australian played over 100 games with stints with Geelong, Newcastle, and Westside Melbourne. Certainly known as a gentle giant. So yeah, a big RIP to Jason Joins.
For sure. And Jimmy, just coming back to you, man, I wanted to say thanks for being such a great friend to me, a supporter of the show, giving up your time today. Just fantastic to speak to some like-minded people about the game we love and the league we love. So thank you.
Definitely. Well, that's one of my favorite things about, the fact that the Aussie basketball community, and especially the NBL community, maybe more so back in the day, it's kind of grown a lot in popularity now, but it has brought people together, and I've met people, like, through yourself. I met Jacinta and did some stuff with them, and then I've met Robbie and all this sort of stuff, and Mookie and Basketball Blokes, and we all caught up at your birthday party and all this stuff. So yeah, no, it's great, man, that it bonded, started friendships and brought us together.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jimmy. Robbie, any final thoughts?
Go Wildcats on Friday night.
Go Kings. Thanks, boys. Peace out. Great job, guys.